My name's Jack Frey. I grew up in Millersville, Pennsylvania, and graduated from high school in 1963, which is really amazing, which means me pretty old. But anyway, back then I did not want to go in the military at all because the draft was going on, Vietnam's starting, and I thought, so I'm going to go to college, which I thought was a good idea. And the thing is, college, I loved college, loved it. But it was all for the wrong purpose because I was majoring in partying. And so I was asked to leave Millersville in 1966. And then the draft was coming on, so one of my buddies got drafted. And anyway, we all decided, well, we're going to join the Marine Corps. We went in the military and joined the Marine Corps. So I survived the Paris Island, and I did a tour of duty in Cuba, and after that I was sent to Vietnam. I was in the 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, and I was stationed in the in I Corps.
Yeah, my name's Jack Yuska. I graduated from McCaskey in 1963, and wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. So I was working for a while, didn't have the money to go to college yet, didn't have the motivation to do it. And at that time, you could do that. You could actually be available for the draft because there really wasn't a draft at first when I graduated. And after a while, I decided to go to school. I went to Millersville, started at Millersville, ran out of money, and then there was the draft available. As soon as I dropped out of school, I became eligible for the draft. I was drafted in 1967, September of 67, and got on a bus down on Duke Street where the parking garage is now was the Selective Service Office, and on a Sunday, my parents dropped me off. A bunch of people were being dropped off. We left there, went to on a bus up to Harrisburg, processed through up there, and then flew from there to Georgia for basic training. We were given our assignments after that, and most of us were sent to Fort Polk, Louisiana for advanced infantry training. After going through that, we came home for 30 days, watched the news, saw what was going on in Vietnam, started to realize it was going to really happen, and at the end of 30 days, our parents, in most cases, would deliver us to the proper locations, and we were on our way to Vietnam. After we processed through in California, we went to Alaska, to Guam, into Vietnam, unassigned, and then processed through from there to have a permanent duty station in Vietnam.
Tell us about, you're young, you've been shipped to Vietnam. There's a whole new world experience.
Yes, okay. I got to Vietnam, and I ended up in the 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines in the I Corps. I don't know if you're talking about the northern part of South Vietnam, and I was just in total infantry. And it was horrendous. I mean, it was just, terrible. It was just when I was there, we were right up along the DMZ a lot of the times, and we did all kinds of crazy things. It was in January 1968 is when. That was in January where the Tet Offensive started, and the first day of Tet Offensive, we were on a sweep. Our company was on a sweep, side by side through a real big, old rice paddies and stuff, and we were going through, and we ran into a real big ambush. And most of my guys were killed, shot up, and I wasn't one of the first ones to go, but I got shot up pretty bad. I got shot in the head, and it was either I still don't know if it's a machine gun or an AK-47 or something, but the round went in here, my head here, and blew out the other side of my head, and I was totally unconscious for maybe 2 weeks, but they survived.
You were lucky there.
I was lucky, yeah, because the rice paddy there was water in there. And a lot of the guys went face forward, and if they weren't wounded, they would drown. They tried to evacuate us. Some of the planes were shot, the helicopters were shot down. And anyway, I survived that. And I spent a year. I spent like a couple weeks in Da Nang Hospital until I was stabilized. And they took me to, I ended up in Drake Air Force Base in Japan until they stabilized me more, and then I got home to Philadelphia Naval Hospital, which doesn't exist today, but that's what it was. And I laid in that hospital for a year. And I was paralyzed. The thing that was really made it so bad, there was no therapy, there was nothing. It was not even, it's not, you go to a hospital room, there's no rooms, there were like big wards. And I lay there off and on for like a year. And the amazing thing was, I knew a girl back then in college. She was amazing. She was, but we never dated or anything. She heard that I was wounded in the Philadelphia Naval Hospital. So she came to see me, and she was so amazed that I'm still alive and stuff. But I couldn't talk, I couldn't speak, I couldn't walk. It was terrible. So she taught me how she would come 2 times a week. She taught me how to read, taught me how to write. She gave me these little magic slates that little kids had, And during that year's time, by God, I started to like her. Well, the amazing thing is, amen, she started to like me. I couldn't believe it.
Makes no sense, Joe.
I know. So, we got married in 1969, and we were married 48 years. And she helped me going through. I eventually went back to college, so I became a special ed teacher for 30-some years at IU 13, and retired. Still alive, but something else happened. Agent Orange. You're always told that, oh my gosh, Agent Orange is so bad. I remember drinking the water that they was sprayed, it was terrible.
So we were told that it was okay.
We were told that it was okay back then, but in the 70s we were told, if you had Agent Orange, it could be pretty bad. So, I tried to be healthy. Back then I could run a little and exercise and stuff. But they found out that Agent Orange, you could have cancer. By God, I got cancer. So it first started with my kidney. I had kidney cancer. So they removed my one kidney, hoping that was enough. Well, it got into my omentum. And omentum is a casing of your abdomen, stuff full of cancer. They removed that. And then it got into my colon. So they removed a foot of my colon. And then it got into my spleen. So they removed my spleen. And then there was still some cancer in the part in where my muscle area was, it used to be with my kidney, and they couldn't get rid of it. So I had to give myself, it's called interferon, which they don't have anymore. Back then. And I took that shot for a year. And I've been cancer free for 12, I don't know how many years.
That's incredible.
So that was my wife is my savior. That's the end.
That's
all right, Jack.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, when I got to Vietnam, I wasn't with a unit. That's the way most of us went over in the Army. So I was given an assignment to report to a unit that looks through your paperwork and decides where you're going to go. My assignment came down that I was sent to the 101st Airborne. I tried to explain to them that I wasn't airborne qualified, but they said that doesn't matter. We're just looking for replacements, which is not a good thing to hear, you know? Why do they need replacements? I was sent to go to the 101st, filled sandbags for another couple of days because they don't just let you hang out. You have things to do. Filling sandbags was our job. After a couple of days of doing that, my orders came down that they were changed from the 101st to the 82nd. And that's when I was, in fact, delivered. Because the 101st is, they're so radical, they're close to being as crazy as the Marines are. They do things a little out of the ordinary and maybe a little bit crazy. So,
a little abnormal.
Yeah. And so I just waved goodbye to the 101st and went with the 82nd. The 82nd is the home guard. They're the AA. You might see the patch. The fact that I was assigned to them was really, really good because I ended up taking a plane from the southern part of Vietnam around Saigon, Ben Hoa, and flying up north to Phu Bai, and from Phu Bai out to the field to join the 1st Battalion, 508th Infantry. I was going to be assigned to Company A, 1st Platoon. And the 1st Platoon RTO is what my assignment was. I was going to carry a radio out in the field for a lieutenant. 3 of our 4 platoon leaders in that company were West Point graduates. The 82nd's main job in the States was to guard Washington, D.C. After Tet, everyone was scrambling. They sent the 82nd over to Vietnam sort of within a couple of days. These guys that were selected to be with the 82nd stateside were all incredibly efficient officers. I was lucky to be with them. I was the first leg to join the non-airborne qualified, and we were given a lot of tough duty just to prove ourselves. But it was a great opportunity to prove yourself. Some of the finest people I ever met in my life. Carried a radio for Lieutenant Locke for 4 months out in the field. At the end of the 4 months, he went back to the executive officer in the rear area taking care of paperwork, took me with him. When I went back, I gave my radio to a rather much larger than me gentleman, and within 2 weeks, we had some serious contact, and he was wounded and sent home to the States. And I often wonder, as big as he was in stature, compared to me being about 140 pounds, if I would have been in the same place, would I be here today? Those things go through your mind constantly because you can see opportunities for bad things or good things to happen. When I came back to take care of supply, I took it very seriously. I took care of supplying a line company for my next 8 months. Rose in rank from Spec 4, then to sergeant. I was supply sergeant when I left. Came home from Vietnam in March of '69, and lucky for me, I didn't have the contact that he had. I had to serve the guys in the field, and I took it very seriously. During the period of time I was there, and part of the time he was there, you got to remember what was going on stateside. Martin Luther King was killed. Bobby Kennedy was killed. So a lot of us were thinking, why are we here? What are we doing this for? But you didn't let that dominate your thought because your major concern was everybody else in your unit. So we took that more seriously than all the politics that was going on stateside. When I got home, I could feel the intensity of the hatred towards us, and it was just a rough time coming home. Went through Millersville on the GI Bill. That was the best thing. I had the money to be able to go to school, and I taught at a local high school 33 years. Retired probably 10 years ago. Just glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys did not meet over Vietnam.
No.
No. How did you guys come to become friends and meet?
Running.
Running, really?
Run. Jogging.
Okay. You just bumped into each other one day?
The first races I remember that he and I were in was a turkey trot, the old turkey trot in Millersville, 10 miler. And
I could run back then. I could run. I learned how to get.
Yeah, and he has one of his eyes isn't there.
I have a vision. I have a real bad vision.
Okay.
I have no peripheral vision after I was shot. No peripheral vision in either eye.
Okay.
So if I'm standing looking at you, I just have one. I see your one eye. I don't even see your nose. I see half your mouth.
Really?
Right. Now that was like 50 years ago. That's all I know now. But
when we start running, and we realized we were both veterans, and we started talking at the beginning of a race. And if you run, you know this. You do that at first, but then you're sucking wind after a while.
I know, that's funny.
He has a tendency to drift on that side where he can't see. So all of a sudden, boom, boom, and every time he bumps into you, he says, "Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And then I, of course, have to respond with, "That's okay." But after a while, you're in a 10-mile race. You're sucking so much wind, you don't want to respond anymore. So I said, one last time.
Just shut up.
Just
shut up. He said, just shut up.
Well, just sort of like that. It wasn't.
We didn't know each other that well.
No. But it was the and from then on we found we had a lot in common with teaching and been there about the same time, and the location. My unit was up north around Way near the Ashar Valley, at the base of the Ashar Valley, and so was his company. For 6 months I was there, and then we moved down south around Saigon, working out of Tunstead Air Force Base. So we do have that in common as well. So
earlier we were talking, and you told me some pretty amazing stories of people you met when you were there and returning. And then if you want to talk about.
When I went back, I went back to Vietnam 2 years ago, and when I went there, I had a guy. Back then, during Vietnam, he was a VC, and now in Vietnam, there's just Vietnam. There's no North and South, and everybody, it's just one big country. So the guy back then was VC, and I told the guide that I definitely want to go to this little village in Cam Lo. Cam Lo was just a little village when I was there, and the only thing that was important about Cam Lo was there was a river right through the town. It's almost like an ancient village, and old wooden bridge and everything like that. And all our supplies and all our fire bases were on one side of the river, and their big base was on the other side. So all the supplies would have to go back and forth this little wooden bridge. And the VC would just love to blow that bridge up. So we're here to protect the bridge. We were there for a couple of weeks. And at that little bridge, there was a little girl back then, and she would try to sell us stuff. She would sell anything, and I really remember she was holding whiskey. She came to the bridge and said, "Whiskey GI, whiskey GI." And we were told never drink anything like that because the VC could grind the glass into the drinks, and So anyway, we shoo her off, we take her off the bridge and say, "Move," off. And I still remember back then, this little girl, she might have been 7, 8, 9, I don't know, putting her little big bottles down, turn to us and say, like, with her look, F-U-G-I, which was really, F-U-G-I. But I felt so sorry for this little girl. So that was the one thing I still remember at Cam Low. Another thing, our company commander was told us, you guys got to have haircuts. You got to get your haircuts. Find a barber, do whatever you want. Because you had to keep your hair real short from lice and everything else. So my buddy and I went into a little tent, or like a little hut with a barber. And we motioned that we want our haircuts. But now there's so much, the VC back then you couldn't trust. So the VC would hate us back then. So I still remember going in this little hut, the barber, and told him we want haircuts. And he had like a straight razor. That was his. And so my buddy, he cut my buddy's hair. I remember putting my rifle on the barber's head.
Didn't I tell you the Marines are nuts?
I know.
Seriously.
So anyway, so I said, hey, just motion it. And he was scared out of it. And so he did that and turned around. It was my turn, and he put the rifle on the barber's head and stuff. And those are the two things I remember in this little village. So when I came back to Vietnam 2 years ago, I told the guide, our guide back then. Now the guide back then was VC. And I told him the story. He had pretty good English too. And I said, I want to go to Cam Low. So we went to Cam Low. And we went to the bridge in Cam Low. Now the bridge, not just a little hut, not little wooden bridges. It was actually a big 2-lane highway, paved and everything. And the old bridge was gone, but you could see the foundations where it used to be. And I said, I want to walk the bridge. And my guy, and we all walked the bridge. And at the end of that bridge was an old lady. And she was selling stuff at the bridge. I couldn't believe it. So I told the story to my guide. The guide told the lady, and she said that she sold to the Marines her whole life. So I'm sure it was her. It was just unbelievable. So I have pictures of my hand around her, and my wife, everybody's taking pictures, and it was sort of cool. That was very, and this time I bought stuff at the bridge.
Did you?
Oh yeah. Now I also told our guy, I want to go get a haircut. So he went to be, walking around. There was a little barber shop. Now there's a barber there. It was not the same barber. It was a young girl. But I told this story to them. My guy told this story to them. So she cut my hair, and everybody was taking pictures. And here I am with this. There was a young girl that was a gift. And my guy said to everybody, I want to get a piece of your hair. So he went in, took a piece of my hair and put it in his pocket. I don't know what the hell he's going to do with it. But anyway, and so I have pictures of that. And those are the two things that really made, and I'll never forget that. Those two things. And that was Cam Low.
Have you ever gone back?
No, I haven't had the opportunity to go back. I'd love to go back. The people, the country.
Sure.
I mean, congratulations to them.
Yeah.
Sort of made a hybrid between democracy and capitalism and communism, and
they
put
are
it all
the
together
most friendly
and have it going.
Friendly. They are the most friendly people you've ever.
So through the hell you guys went through over there, but you still fell in love with the country and the people.
Oh yes. Nowadays, Oh, yes. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
We had a lot of students that came into school when we were both teaching that were from either Laos or Vietnam, the boat people and stuff, and they were some of the best role models for our students to see because they were motivated, directed, and really, really excellent students. So that was all good. My most interesting story is not as dramatic as him, but to a certain extent, it just makes me amazed. During the time I was in Vietnam, I realized that I had 30 days leave before I went to Vietnam. These guys that were in the 82nd before I, got there, they were stateside. They didn't get the 30-day leave. Their whole area was roped off down in Fort Bragg. Everything was roped off. They were told within 24 hours if a family member could come and say goodbye to them, they were going to be going somewhere. This was all because of Tet. So these guys that never got a chance to really acclimate their heads to going to war were put in these dire straits. When all of a sudden they were, airborne and on the way, they told them where they were going. They took them to Vietnam. These guys could have easily had a little grudge and a little bit of, lack of patriotism, perhaps, because they weren't treated properly. But they didn't. They did their job. They were some of the best people, again, I've ever met in my life. While we were there, the higher authorities decided that these guys deserved 30 days at home. So during our tour, while I was with the unit, they sent these guys on a rotating basis back to the States. You remember what the politics was like at the time, and a lot of people were realizing that maybe Vietnam was a big mistake. These guys were given an opportunity to go back to the world, which is what we call going home to the United States. They were sent back, again, in rotating groups. Out of the, let's say, 120 people that rotated back to the States, it still astounds me. Only one guy didn't come back. Could easily go home and get into the party mood at that age and think, I know how screwed up it is over there, but they didn't do that. They came back, and when I talk to students in high schools about this, I always tell them that sometimes there's something higher than just your individual self and what's best for you. When you're in a military unit, it's all about us. And these guys would not have stayed home because they would be sort of doing bad by the buddies. So I just find that one of the most staggering things. I saw those guys return from the States, being supply sergeant at that time, and watching them come in and just be in awe of them. I mean, talk about patriotism, talk about doing the hard things. That's astounding.
Absolutely.
I was teaching, I was an IU-13 teacher, but I was actually working in Conestoga Valley High School. And one day there was a teacher, a history teacher, Barry Gervin, was teaching, and he asked me, would you want to talk to the students about Vietnam, since you were in Vietnam? And I thought, oh, geez, I don't know if I can do this, but I'll give it a shot. And when I started, I talked to the class, and it was almost like surreal because I could hear myself saying stuff that I never said to anybody forever, never. And all of a sudden, it's almost like it was so surreal. And a lot of stuff came out that I felt very, oh, geez. Like I said, surreal. And up until then, I also had a lot of post-traumatic stuff for many years. But that was almost like therapeutic. And then it started again, and somebody asked me to do this. And then Jack started to do it. And then that's where it all started, that we started doing it together. And then we ended up in Millersville. So we've been doing this for many years, but it was very therapeutic for the two of us. And also, very educational for high school kids, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think, you're thinking in terms of when I was in high school, did any World War II guys come in and talk to us? And the answer was no. And I know I had uncles who were in World War II and were rather quiet about it. And that was the proper way to handle it back then. And I think it was probably not good for them.
But they were heroes back then because Vietnam wasn't.
Right. And it was a whole different environment, a whole different situation. We were not looked upon the same as World War II guys. So I felt, and I think Jack felt too, that it was our almost obligation to give the proper point of view as a Vietnam veteran who did what he thought was the right thing and survived it and was willing to share it, the real experience of the war. Because, again, my uncles never talked about it, and I know they went through a lot of stuff that was probably worse than what we did, and not knowing about it when we went into the service was a disservice to us. We should have known more about what was really going on in a war environment. And just hearing someone in a class would be a good thing. And that's when we decided on our own and then together that maybe we should share this. Maybe we should just take the good and the bad with it, get a chance to unload a little bit and explain to these kids. I think the service is a great place to start your life. It gives you structure, it gives you discipline, and I had a lot of students I told it's better than flipping burgers at McDonald's to go into the service and maybe find some career you can have, at least get some direction, motivation, make yourself a better person. It sounds corny, but it's true. And a lot of kids listen and feel pretty proud about that. And we have had kids come up to us and thank us profusely at the end of the presentation. And it's always nice to see that because it makes you feel like you did something that had purpose. Especially the experience at Millersville, where we were talking about another veteran of Iraq being unable to handle things because of post-traumatic stress, and I can understand why. The idea is the guys in Iraq and Afghanistan going in and out of war situations is beyond anything I can understand. Going once and coming home and adjusting to civilian life is easy compared to back and forth. I don't understand how you did that. One of the guys, one time when we made our presentation at Millersville, took my attempted banner between the Marines and the 82nd, the Airborne, friendly banner, as a serious thing. And at the end, he said, "Why do you have such hatred for the Marines?" I said, "I don't hate the Marines.
We just joke. We've been joking
we
around.
bust each other about it."
We bust each other.
And then he sort of shook his head. And I was thinking, he should know that before he gets to that situation, That's why I think what we did for the high school kids is probably good. And
the only thing different between what's going on now with the war and back in Vietnam, there was now the whole unit goes and the whole unit comes back. The whole unit goes, the whole unit comes. Vietnam, it was just continuous. You would just straggle in. A few would go in, a few would go out. So there was never that unity in Vietnam that is in a lot of.
But see, there's good and bad about that. If you go over as a unit of guys you know and you've known in depth, and you go over there and one of them gets killed, it's really more heart-wrenching and more difficult to handle, I think. Rather than going over, and not that you don't care about the guys you just came in country with, it's just that it's a different thing. There's no depth to it.
What was really cool, when I was in Vietnam, there was a guy, he was from York, Pennsylvania. Yes. And we became close because we're, Lancaster, worked and stuff. So he was married, and his daughter, when we were in January '67, his daughter got married. His daughter was born, and he was so excited. And he was going to go to R&R. He was going to fly to Hawaii, and his wife and his daughter is going to be in and see it for the first time. He was so excited. I still remember we were on this big rock thing, you know, and they were flying in supplies to us all the time, and a lot of it,
Including beer.
In beer, they
Yes.
they would fly in beer. Now the beer, warm, Bud, or what, I don't know, it doesn't matter.
Lesser beer.
But so we were there, so we were drinking this beer, and he was reading this, and we were so excited. I still remember toasting him and stuff. The sad thing is, a week later, when I got shot, he got killed, and he never saw his daughter. Later on, when I thought I was going to die, I went to where Les was buried in Gettysburg, and I left a little coin there. The coin said from Jack Frey to Les, you know, blah blah, and our outfit and stuff, and left it there. A couple weeks later, I got a letter. Actually, the letter said, "I hope it's the right person." Les is my brother. This is and this is the sister, and the sister wanted to talk to me. So we all got together, and that turned out. Oh, that was years ago. But we're still in contact with Les's sister and stuff.
But you got to hold the baby.
Oh,
this is
yes,
what's
I
really.
forgot to tell you this. When I was wounded,
He loses focus.
when I was
Marines. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
I know.
No.
But yes, when I was wounded, I went home a little bit, and that was in 1968. And Les had already been killed, but Les's mother and my mother contacted each other, and I got the chance to hold Les's little daughter that he never saw before, and
Sure.
that was just the most heart-wrenching. I mean, that was terrible. It was good and bad, but Les never saw the daughter, and I'm sitting there holding Les's daughter, and I'm just like, oh my God! You talk about emotions being overrun. Yeah.
Sure.
So that was in 1968.
Have you seen the daughter since?
No.
Oh, you haven't?
Now, I did find out that she lives in Texas.
Okay.
She knows. She found out about me, so I'm waiting. If she ever wants to see me again, she knows where I am. So that's up to her. But but at least the family.
Sure. What made you guys start to meet here at the Fridge?
Well, the interesting thing is, both of us agreed to this, that our retirements pretty much coincided with the burst of enthusiasm for good beers. And we don't think it was a coincidence. We think there was some sort of intervention here, you know? So we started doing some long-range trips to Victory, Troves, trying to find places where they made good beer. And when this first came on the scene, you had to do that. There wasn't a whole lot of enthusiasm in the area. So we started doing that, and we found ourselves moving closer and closer to Lancaster as places showed up. And we were able to get together as more than just the two of us. We had some friends from high school, and I had a guy who went through basic and advanced infantry, and he stayed with the 101st, Donnie Good. And he ended up being a tunnel rat because he was smaller of stature. And the five of us meet here at a place that we consider to be very comfortable. A place where you can relax. There's no pretense involved. It's just very, very nice. Yeah. Food's good. Beer's great. And we meet here every Friday, and we love it.
Yeah, and Kevin is great with it. Yeah, really.
That's not what you said.
Oh, no. Stop it. No, but Kevin, we got a chance to really know Kevin. And
he came to one of our presentations.
Oh yeah, Kevin. Oh, we'd go to the presentations, and Kevin would come to see us. So it means a lot to us too. Yeah. So it's not just good beer, but it's also the.
But that's a big part of it.
Yeah, but that's a lot part of it. Yeah.
the 5 of us that meet, some people are still going through some form of therapy to deal with what they saw. And if you heard the stories they had to tell, you'd understand why. It's everybody had different experiences there, and theirs was over the top. So we had to find a place that was comfortable, and this was the best place for us to be. We tried a couple places before that, and the vibe wasn't right. So it really works.
Back in the Vietnam era, and when it was over and all stuff, it was a very negative feeling with the United States. I mean, about Vietnam was such a negative thing afterwards. And so years went by, and we found out that, okay, now Vietnam is part of history and this and that. And now, when Vietnam now has become, if you're a Vietnam vet or Vietnam this, now it's almost become like cool. But back then there was never a good welcome coming home. So nowadays, when you run into a Vietnam vet now, it's almost a camaraderie of saying like, welcome home. Because back then we weren't welcomed home. But now it's just like a welcome home is the slogan now that we all use for welcome home. So
you say welcome home when you say hello, like hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're a Vietnam, welcome home. And that's just sort of like something that we should have had.
And we like to think that one of the things that we've done is explain to people by our behavior and by how we conduct ourselves is that you can hate the war, but don't hate the warrior. It wasn't our choice to go. Draft, enlistment, because of draft, whatever it might be, we went and did what we thought was our duty. And then nobody sound corny about it, but that was our obligation. People had gone before us and done the same thing. People can say what they want about Afghanistan and Iraq. I have my opinions about things too, but I don't look down on the warrior, the guy that goes and fights the battles,
But
the guy or the ladies who go and fight the wars. There's no reason, there's no room for that, and we demonstrated that it means a lot to us.
But I think
accept it.
But I think now that people know that and they don't.
Well, I think we had a lot to do with it. No, not we, you and I.
Oh.
No. We're not that big. Yeah. I think across the board. You know, don't be making a political decision on an individual. You know?
Yeah.